The day after I lost my job, my brother-in-law slammed the fridge and said, "Why are you still eating here? This isn't a shelter." My wife said nothing, just cleared her plate and left the room. I sat there, swallowing my pride. But that night, I found the lease had been changed. I was no longer a tenant in my own home. I slept at the bus station, but a week later, when they needed my signature for. I'm 48, born and raised in Joliet, Illinois. Most of my life has been quiet. Blue collar, no frills. I worked in logistics for a mid-sized trucking company for close to 16 years. It was the kind of job where you didn't wear a suit, but you kept a clipboard and made sure everything got where it needed to be. I was good at it. Never missed a deadline. Always picked up the phone. The company was like a second family until they weren't. That was last fall. I got pulled into a meeting with two guys from HR and a regional manager I barely knew. They were restructuring. Said all the right things about how valued I was, handed me a check, and just like that, I was done. I came home early that day, Jenna still at work. I sat in the driveway for a while, not knowing how to tell her. We'd been married 13 years. No kids. Some debt, but nothing major. I thought she'd be shocked. Maybe worried. She wasn't. She looked at the check, nodded, and said, "At least we've got a little buffer." Then she asked if I could pick up her brother from a job interview that afternoon. Her brother, Caleb. He moved in with us 2 years before that. Said it'd be temporary. He'd just gotten evicted, couldn't afford rent in Aurora, claimed his ex screwed him over. Jenna cried when she told me he needed help. I told her 6 months, tops. He moved in that weekend. Caleb didn't get a job. Didn't even try. For a while he faked it. Woke up early, left the house. But we all knew he was at the mall, probably sitting in the food court. Eventually he stopped pretending. He stayed in the house all day, watched TV, played games, ate everything in the fridge. Started ordering things to our Amazon account using my card. Every time I confronted Jenna, she shrugged it off. "He's my brother," she'd say. "He's just trying to figure things out." "He's a 34-year-old man," I said once. Not a teenager. But she'd already turned away, eyes on her phone. After I lost my job, it got worse. Caleb started making comments. Little digs, like, "So what do you do all day now?" "Watch Judge Judy with the old folks." He was testing me, pushing buttons. And Jenna said nothing. Not once. Then came that morning. I came down to the kitchen around 9. Was going to make toast, check job listings. Caleb was already standing there, fridge open. I walked in, reached for the bread. He slammed the fridge so hard the condiments rattled. He looked at me like I was a stray dog. "Why are you still eating here?" he said. "This isn't a shelter." I looked at him, stunned. I waited for Jenna to speak up. She didn't. She sat at the table, chewing her eggs, then calmly picked up her plate and walked out of the room. I sat down, but I couldn't eat. I stared at the wall. My stomach turned, but not from hunger. That night, I went into the office to grab a bill, needed it for an application. That's when I saw the lease paperwork. It was just sitting there on the printer tray. New lease. Signed 2 weeks earlier. Only her name on it. I flipped through it 3 times, thinking it was a mistake. But it wasn't. My name, the man who paid for the down payment, paid half the mortgage, paid for her car, was gone. I didn't say anything. I packed a bag, took my coat, and walked out. The only place open was the bus station on Jefferson Street. It smelled like piss and regret. I sat on a bench with my backpack between my feet and tried to stay awake. Didn't even close my eyes. Just sat there, thinking how fast everything could fall apart. No one called that night. No one called the next day. A week later, Jenna called. Sounded casual, like we'd just spoken yesterday. "Hey," she said. "We're refinancing the house. Need your signature on a couple forms." No apology. "No, how are you?" Nothing. That's when I realized this wasn't an accident. It wasn't panic or stress. It was a plan, and they thought I was too weak, too desperate, too spineless to do anything about it. They thought wrong. After that phone call, I didn't respond. I let it sit. For the first time in my life, I had no home, no job, and no one who gave a damn. And yet, I felt more clear-headed than I had in years. I stayed quiet. Got a temp gig doing warehouse inventory overnight out in Romeoville. Paid crap, but it kept me going. I rented a week-to-week room above a bar off Cash Street. It smelled like mildew and the heater didn't work, but I could sleep without Caleb's voice blasting through the walls. 2 weeks went by before Jenna tried again. This time she texted. Said something about the loan having time sensitivity. Said she was willing to talk about things and that we could meet at a coffee shop. I said no. I wanted to see how far they'd go. Then came the email. A scanned PDF of the refinance forms. Jenna wrote, "Please sign these and send them back today." The bank's waiting. I read the fine print. They were taking $80,000 in equity out of the house. None of it was going to pay bills. It was going into home improvements and personal debt. Caleb's debt. His name was listed under one of the beneficiary accounts. He was getting $15,000 directly. I felt like I was staring at a knife with my name on it. They needed my signature because my name was still on the mortgage. Jenna couldn't refinance without me. She had tried to get me off the mortgage with the lease switch, but the bank didn't care about that piece of paper. It still legally tied me to that house. So now I wasn't just discarded. I was supposed to help fund the very people who kicked me out. I emailed back, "Meet me in person." We met at the public library downtown. Neutral ground. She walked in late, looking tired, but still smug. Wore a scarf I bought her 2 Christmases ago. She didn't sit down. "Look, this has been hard on everyone," she said. "Let's just handle this like adults." I didn't say anything. She pulled out the folder, placed it on the table, and slid a pen toward me. "Just sign." I opened the folder slowly, looked at every page again, then looked up at her. "Did you ever love me?" I asked. She flinched, just for a second, then shrugged. "I loved who you used to be." She said it like she was doing me a favor by being honest. I didn't sign. I closed the folder, picked it up, and walked out. That night, Caleb texted me from her number. "You had your chance, old man. Hope the streets are comfy." I didn't respond, but I started planning. First thing I did was call the mortgage company. I asked some questions, played dumb. They confirmed I was still fully liable and fully authorized to make decisions. Then I called a lawyer. Not a fancy one. Just a guy who handled real estate and family law for guys like me. Working men who got screwed. I spent the next 6 weeks gathering everything. Bank statements, emails, texts, old receipts, tax returns, anything that showed how much I put into that house. Meanwhile, Jenna and Caleb kept calling, emailing, pushing harder. Their loan was getting delayed. The bank was asking questions. They were running out of time. Then I did something they didn't see coming. I sent Jenna a legal letter. In it, I stated I was contesting the refinance. I also included notice of partition by sale. That meant I was asking the court to force the sale of the house and divide the proceeds. Caleb couldn't stop it. Jenna couldn't either, unless they bought me out. But they didn't have the money. They needed me to help them stay in that house. They thought they had all the control. But now? Now they were trapped in a house they couldn't afford, couldn't refinance, and couldn't keep without my agreement. 3 days after my lawyer sent the partition notice, I got an email from Jenna. Subject line, "You win." The body of the email was short, "Let's talk. I'll buy you out." It was all bluff. I knew she didn't have the money, and she knew I knew. She was hoping I'd accept some lowball offer, walk away, and leave her with the house. Probably thought I was still hurting enough to take scraps just to be done. I didn't reply. Instead, I had my lawyer file for a court-ordered appraisal. That meant a certified appraiser would determine the real value of the property. No lowballing, no family discounts. The process took about 3 weeks. During that time, Jenna went silent. But Caleb didn't. He showed up at my temp job. I was on break, sitting in the back lot eating a sandwich when he pulled up in that rusted-out Ford he always borrowed from Jenna. He got out, walked up to me like we were old buddies. "You don't have to do this, man," he said. I didn't say anything. Just kept eating. He started pacing. "Look, I know things got heated. But this? Selling the house out from under your own wife? That's low, man." I finally looked up at him. "You mean like kicking your brother-in-law out and trying to steal 80 grand? His jaw tensed. "That money was for Jenna. You think you're the only one who's had it rough." That's when it hit me. This wasn't about debt. It wasn't even about the house. They were hiding something. A week later, I found it. I'd gotten a letter addressed to Mr. and Mrs. C at my new P.O. box. It was from a credit union in Wisconsin, following up on a denied loan application. I opened it out of habit, thinking it was part of the refinance mess. But it wasn't. It was an application for a business loan for a vape shop in Racine. Applicant, Caleb. Cosigner, Jenna. They'd been trying to start a business behind my back. That was the real reason for the cash-out refinance. They weren't paying down debt. They were planning to move. They wanted the money to leave Joliet, open up shop, and start fresh together. Like a couple. Like a thing. It all clicked. Her sudden coldness. His smug confidence. The way they looked at each other in those last few months. I wasn't just kicked out. I was replaced. That night, I dug through old emails. Found an old shared iCloud folder Jenna forgot to delete access to. Inside were dozens of photos. Photos of her and Caleb and Racine. At a pier. At a bar. At someone's baby shower. And not brother-sister photos. Not even close. I sat at my desk shaking. Not with sadness. Not even with rage. Just something heavier. Final. That was the moment I stopped hoping for justice. I started planning vengeance. The next morning, I met with my lawyer and showed him everything. The loan papers, the photos, the emails. He went pale. Caleb isn't just a freeloader, I said. He's been in a relationship with my wife. They lied on financial documents. They tried to remove me from my home without consent. I want to hit them with everything we can. He nodded and got to work. First, we filed a motion to subpoena Jenna and Caleb's financial records, citing fraudulent intent during the refinance attempt. That spooked them. Their lawyer responded within a day, asking to negotiate. I refused. Then I filed for divorce, on grounds of infidelity and financial misconduct. But I wasn't done. I sent the credit union in Wisconsin the evidence I had. Emails, texts, and photos, proving Jenna and Caleb misrepresented their relationship and financial standing on their loan application. They flagged both names for fraud and barred them from applying again. The house. It went to court. Jenna tried to claim majority ownership, said I abandoned the property. I showed bank statements for every mortgage payment, every repair bill, every grocery trip over the last 5 years. My lawyer painted a clear picture. I paid, they plotted. The judge didn't just side with me. He ordered the house sold. Split 50/50ths. But here's the twist. Jenna had to pay all closing costs and back property taxes. That came right out of her share. Caleb wasn't on any official documents, so he walked away with nothing. Not even a place to sleep. The final check? $94,000. I used some of it to get a proper apartment. Clean, quiet, near the edge of town. Nothing fancy, but mine. Then I paid one last visit. I walked into the vape shop in Racine. It was already open. Small, ugly place in a half-dead strip mall. Jenna was behind the counter. Caleb was in the back. She looked up, eyes wide. I came to say thank you, I said. For what? She whispered. For showing me who you really were. For helping me let go. Caleb came out from the back, saw me, and started walking over. I held up my phone. By the way, I said, your lease here? You used my name as a reference. The owner just got my call. He froze. I told him everything. Your fraud charges. The lawsuit. The divorce. You'll be out by the end of the week. They didn't speak. Just stood there. As I walked out, I heard Jenna say, what the hell are we going to do now? I didn't stop walking. Didn't look back. I'm not rich. I'm not young. I've still got scars. But I got my name back. I got my dignity back. And most of all, I made sure they'll never forget the man they tried to erase.